Sorry for the long wait, but just know a few things before we start. And first is that the feedback quirk is an emitter/transformation hybrid. And the transformation basically lasts as long as the user used it, or in monkey terms, if one monkey walks 3 steps and stops, then he has to wait 3 seconds until he can walk again. And that's the best explanation of the transformation time limit. So, let's begin. What if Deku had a feedback quirk? And obviously, Deku's birth does not change, but once he reaches the age of 4, and obviously still being an All Might fanboy, but right now he is in a daycare with his friends and Bakugo, as Bakugo was showing off his quirk, as he asked what Deku's quirk was, and Deku stated that he has not unlocked his. And after Bakugo heard that, he nodded as they all went to the play area with sand and other stuff, and they were all playing in the until Bakugo said, "Whoever is last in the monkey tower is a nerd." And after Bakugo said that, he started climbing and the others did so as well, as Izuku was there and was behind Bakugo until Bakugo, tripping from one of them being covered in muddy water, was about to fall on Izuku, and Izuku was shocked as a green was erupted and Bakugo was hanging from someone's hand, and it was Izuku's whose body had changed into a humanoid figure, with a black body with one green eye in the middle of his head, 2 antennae, a tail with round plugs on their tips, 4-fingered hands and feet with only 2 front toes, and Izuku had also gotten taller as well, from 3.3 feet to almost 5 feet, as everyone is shocked and in awe as Izuku jumped down Bakugo in his hands, as he dropped Bakugo and looked at his arms, and Bakugo looked up seeing Izuku now transformed, as he froze and said, "Whoa, you look like a robot alien." And while Bakugo said that, the other students stared at Izuku, was confused as a few of them said, "That's so cool, that's your quirk." And Izuku hearing was happy and said, "Yeah, I guess this is my quirk." And after Izuku said that, he de-transformed as Bakugo quickly said, "Well, can you do it again?" And after Bakugo said that, Izuku was about to try but was stopped by the teachers as the teachers called in Inko about this. And Inko quickly came to the daycare and took Izuku in her car and to the quirk doctor. And after they arrived, the quirk doctor this time, a different doctor instead of Dr. Ujiko, and he talked with Inko for a bit and then told Izuku to come to him, and Izuku did so as the doctor touched Izuku. Hence, the doctor had a quirk that allowed him to get a description of other quirks, and he used it on Deku as he got a good description of it as he said, "Well, your quirk is an interesting one, at that, a powerful one as well. And your quirk is basically like a transformation quirk, and when you transform, you can absorb almost every type of energy and redirect it as well. And whenever you transform, like let's say 10 seconds, and then detransform, you have to wait 10 seconds before you transform again. And that's all, but there could be more, so always go plus ultra." And after he said that, Izuku nodded, excited about his very powerful transformation quirk, and Inko smiled while the doctor said, "Since we don't have a name and the fact that your transformation does not look like any animal, you can give it a name." And after Izuku heard that, he was ecstatic as he started thinking hard and fast, as after a bit of thinking later, Izuku said, "Feedback quirk, I like that name." And after Izuku said that, the quirk doctor nodded and listed it in Izuku's file, and then Izuku and Inko go back home, and late at night, Izuku barely able to sleep because of the excitement he has. And on the next day, Izuku is taken to the daycare, as when he got in the classroom, Bakugo and the others asked what his quirk was, and Izuku basically explained what the quirk doctor told him. And after he was done, Bakugo said, "Well, so you can transform into a cool-looking alien guy, and you got to name him. That's lucky, but still my quirk." And after Bakugo said that, Izuku nodded but said, "Well, maybe we can see in the future, Kachin." And Izuku said that, Bakugo smirked, as this is where their friendship starts, and obviously from what I have up to this point, you now know Bakugo and Izuku are friends and not enemies, and Izuku being a little more confident. But let's get back to the story. And in the following years of Izuku having this quirk, he trained first to find a way to make the time limit go away, but it never worked. So actually trained with his quirk with Bakugo, and Izuku realized he, without transforming, can also control electricity as well, and so he was ecstatic again, and I'm sorry for making that joke, but let's continue. And so after Izuku learned, he felt even better, as once he unlocked and showed it to Bakugo, Bakugo had said, "Really, you got a 2-in-1 deal, what will you get a 3-in-1 if you kiss someone?" And after that, they both laughed, and then in the following years, they also trained together in the gym, fighting, learning, and not in bed, but they both got 3 times stronger than their original counterparts, and Izuku also learned about many types of energies and much more, because this information is good for his quirk. But he also trained his electricity, so yes, Deku is busted already, and him also being more confident and more calm, almost uncaring because of the calm and simple life, but that's all Izuku did with Bakugo in the following years, except doing Bakugo until they both got to the age of 14, and right now we're in the last day of their class as the teacher came in and did the, "I know you all want to be heroes," and then saying, "And 2 students are planning to go the National Hero School UA High."
And they are Katsuki, Bakugo, and Izuku Midoriya. And after he was done yapping, everyone was whispering about this and that. After the class ended, Bakugo asked if Izuku wanted to train today, but Izuku said no, stating that he has some work too. And Bakugo nodded and walked away, and Izuku got his bag on his back and left school, and as he was walking back home, he took a shortcut under the bridge, and the sludge villain still in the sewer did his internal monologue until he saw Izuku, as he said, "That guy was a freak, but you're my hero, kid." And after he said that, his sludge went out and Izuku was walking until he felt something on his foot, and it was the sludge villain as he came out of the sewer and said, "I need your body, kid." And after the sludge villain said that, he lunged towards Izuku, and Izuku, with a calm expression and not transforming into feedback, used electricity at a high point to stun the sludge, and the sludge villain was hit, unable to move as the electricity continued, and Izuku, with a lollipop in his mouth, waited, thinking of what to do with the sludge villain, until from the sewer came out All Might saying, "I am here." And then All Might saw Izuku next to the still electrifying sludge villain, as he told Izuku to stop that because he could kill the villain, and Izuku half nodded as he turned off the electricity, as he did not fanboy all over All Might because he stopped caring a while ago. But he asked if he could have All Might's signature, and All Might at first was confused, but did so, as he asked if Izuku had a lightning quirk, but Izuku shook his head saying no, and that was electricity. So know the difference, but this is my quirk. And after he said that, Izuku transformed into feedback for 10 seconds, and then de-transformed as he said, "My quirk is different from others, but do you need my help by taking that sludge villain in a jar?" And after Izuku said that, All Might was shocked at the transformation, but nodded as Izuku did so, and after All Might got the jar, he gave Izuku some inspiring words as he left into the sky. And while he did that, Izuku faintly saw the jar drop, and he quickly turned into feedback, and then left as well as he was able to catch the jar as he looked around and saw All Might land on a roof. As he leaped there, as instead of All Might, there was a skinny man. As Izuku said, "Hey mister, have you seen All Might?" And after Izuku said that, All Might and his small might said, "Wait, you know I am All Might?" And after that, Izuku's brain connected the dots as he realized this weak-looking man was All Might. And he said, "Well, no, but you just revealed it to me, but I won't ask why you were like, or how, but I'm keeping this as a secret, so don't worry. So here's the villain, and don't drop him." And after Izuku said that, he gave All Might the jarred sludge villain, as All Might nodded slowly, thinking slightly, and before Izuku could leave, All Might told him to stop, and Izuku did so, curious, as All Might explained about one for all and all for one as about his lung entry, as then he finally asked if Izuku could be his successor. And after Izuku heard that, he had many emotions in his mind, and first being his inner child being ecstatic, while his newly made self being, "Nah, it's too much of a hassle," but Izuku ignored both of those and took a breath as he said, "I agree, but once if I am done capturing all for one, I will be less active and might give it to someone else, because while saving people is good, I need to take care of my personal life as well." And after Izuku said that, All Might nodded loudly and understood as he told Deku to meet him at Digama Beach next day, and Izuku nodded as he still transformed into feedback, leapt to another building, and quickly getting back home and transforming as he told Bakugo this news about him meeting All Might and All Might willing to give him his quirk. And once Bakugo heard that on the phone, he said, "Cha! Figures, you're already busted with that alien form and electricity. Of course the symbol of peace would want you to be a successor." And Izuku heard that, he chuckled and told Bakugo to train more or else he would be number 2. And after Bakugo heard that, he scoffed but told Deku to wait because he won't stop. And after Izuku heard that, he nodded, and on the next day Izuku went to Digamo Beach and All Might as they both talked for a bit until All Might took a piece of hair from his hair and told Izuku eat it. And Izuku did so and was able to keep his calm and not showing a disgusted face as he felt nothing and said to All Might, "Nothing is happening, All Might." And after that, All Might told him to wait and meet him the next day. And Izuku nodded and left, and in the dead of night he felt power and a lot of it. And on the next day he came to All Might and used OFA at 5% already.
And All Might was impressed as he told Izuku that he was already doing great, and Izuku nodded, and this is where All Might starts training Izuku, and the training was easy because of Izuku being already very strong, but All Might made the training harder, which started getting tough, but Izuku went through it all because he agreed to be All Might's successor. But he also trained with Bakugo a few times and telling him about how his training with All Might went, and Bakugo told Izuku not to give up, and that's all what Izuku did in these 10 months of training. So the 10-month training arc ended and Izuku in his base was able to use 20%, while transformed into feedback, he can use 100% with some strain. So Izuku is already busted and the villains are cooked. But that's all, as Izuku was now being taken to the UA entrance exam by Inko. And once Inko stopped the car, Izuku got out of it and said goodbye to Inko, and then waited and Bakugo finally got there as both of them dapped and went inside the entrance exam. And did not meet Ochako as they both took separate seats, which was a challenge from Bakugo, which Izuku agreed to do, and after the written started, Izuku was doing above average, and after it ended, Present Mike started explaining about the robot exam. And Izuku started walking in the front, and Aida did not stop him this time because I don't care about Aida, but everyone waited until Present Mike gave the go, telling that there is no timer, and that everyone rushed, and Izuku decided not to use one for all because he wants to use own strength this time and not one for all. And he did, and a green glow erupted around him as transformed into feedback and started running like a madman, and sucking the energy out of the robots and then using that energy to shoot down the robots, and he was not being too flashy or too boring until Nezu pressed the big red button and summoned the zero pointer. And Izuku at first ignored it and was walking away from it calmly because he had already defeated 300 worth of villain points until he heard a scream. And this scream was from Ochako, who was stuck in some rubble and was about to be crushed by the zero pointer, and Izuku quickly got there and absorbed the zero pointer's energy completely and then used that energy on the zero pointer by shooting his biggest energy blast. And once it hit the zero pointer was broken in pieces and its chest was erased as Ochako and every other contestants were shocked. While one of the parts of the zero pointer was about to hit a few people until Izuku jumped to them and grabbed it with his two heads antennae, as he used his tail to shoot an energy blast, and another part saving two students at once, as he put the handpiece of the zero pointer down and went to help Ochako as he took her to recovery, and without saying anything as he left. As he was now detransformed, and on the exit, and as he waited, Bakugo came out of his section as they both talked for a bit about how their match went, and Bakugo telling Izuku to stop holding, and then Izuku telling Bakugo to wait because these things are too weak for his full power, and Bakugo just laughed at Izuku saying that, and that's their talks ends, and they split up, each going back home, while we now get to Nezu and the other heroes who were talking about the display of power from Izuku Midoriya, as there was All Might, Nezu, Aizawa, and a few NPC heroes, and they were talking until Nezu said, "Midoriya is not reckless. He identifies threats, neutralizes them, and protects others with zero delay. Transformation plus energy redirection makes him a strategic nightmare for villains. He already operates above most third-year students. Admit him. Then contain the information on his second quirk." And then Aizawa would say, "He's overpowered. If he loses control or someone figures out how to exploit that energy absorption, it becomes a disaster. I want him in my class so I can monitor him." And in this talk, All Might would stay quiet because of the One for All secret, while the other teachers would just be reacting with some version of, "That kid erased the zero pointer." But this is where we end this What If, and believe me guys, this shit was good, and you have to agree this is peak like Exeter's What If Deku, and there it is, my memory loss hitting me and me forgetting everything about a What If. But make sure to like and subscribe so I can reach 1K and start making some money, because that is gonna be my job, bro. Peace. And What If Deku had a love quirk will never be made because the shipping community of MHA, or maybe it will, but really, peace out.